you're trying to get better at objection handling in sales meetings, right? So you're doing sales meetings with prospects, you're listening to his situation, like you're asking him some questions, you pitch, and then at the end of it, they say like, I need to think about it. So obviously it would make sense that, if you were able to convert that maybe or no into a yes, you would close a lot more deals, right? And that's part of it, but that's often like not the entire story. Because think about it from the perspective of the buyer, right? If they are having like a 30 minutes or like a full hour meeting with you, and in the start, you're asking him some questions, he's feeling like a little bit confused because he doesn't understand maybe the process, maybe he feels a bit anxious, maybe you don't understand the process, and so he wants you to get to the point, right? So then you pitch, and then you now, like, he's listening to your pitch, maybe you have a presentation, but he's like not really sure what you're talking about, and you sense that, well, he kind of understands what you're offering, but maybe he's like not entirely following along. And so at the end, now you try to convince him to buy your product, right? But if you think about it from the perspective of the buyer, I mean, you're starting the meeting, you're asking some questions that are strange and not helping that much. And then like you're presenting your product and asking him like, well, is this something for you? So obviously this makes sense that this is not really like the way you want to go about it, If you are able to ask better questions in the beginning, that you want to you ask him about his situation, you ask him about his business, and then you try to understand the situation where he is at, insofar as that's relevant to what you're offering, right? So if you can understand where he's at objectively, then you can already sense, well, is this something that's going to be able to help him, or maybe not, right? So that's something that can help not just you, but also him, because then well, this product might be helpful for you, right? So once you do that, once you have the objective situation, maybe his cash flow, maybe his profit margins, maybe his type of business, once you know those kind of things, like where he is at, now you know that objectively speaking, this could be something for him, right? So this is part of it. And then the next part, which is usually the biggest part, is the psychology of the person. Is this something that he wants to do? Where is he at in his life, in his business? And you want to kind of check the way he thinks about things, the way he thinks about his business. And you want to check well, since you value that, maybe this could be important to you. Or maybe you even want to challenge his mindset in some cases, well, if you think about it that way, where is that really going to lead? Is that going to be the most efficient way to grow your business? Sometimes you might need to challenge their mindset. It's an interpersonal skill. But the thing is, if you ask these questions in the beginning, obviously that's much better, right? Because now you're actually doing something with the first half, or maybe even 70% of your meeting. Now you're actually doing something with that, and not just getting through some scripts and then doing some pitch and then trying to force him in with objection handling or some tricks, right? That's not really, that doesn't really make sense. You want to consult and have a conversation with your prospect about, is this something for him or is this not for him? And the way how we call that is discovery. Like this could be called a discovery session, but it could just be a discovery part within your sales meeting. And this is like the first part where you ask questions, where you try to understand his mindset, where you check about his situation, both like objective and like psychology-wise. And so now you're really working with your prospect. So instead of like going through some process and then trying to engage with him at the end to get him in, you're engaging him right from the start, right? And now it actually makes sense because right from the start, you're already working with him. You're already like checking the situation of him. And this way is going to be much more efficient. It's more difficult because it takes more calibration, it takes more understanding, it takes more presence than just going to a script. But it is a much more efficient way. And especially like, if you focus too much on objection handling, I've had this part in my business where I wasn't closing clients. And so I thought like, well, I'm just going to focus on objection handling. Because if I can turn like this, I need to think about it in them agreeing that they need to take action, or somehow like I can kind of force something there, then maybe that would be good for me. And maybe I would close some deals that way, right? And it does help, but again, it's not the most efficient way to go about things. Where you're really making the sale is in a discovery, right? So it's about being skillful with your discovery. It's also about, being direct in your discovery in a way. Like you think about the objection handling as a difficult part, but that's because you're not treating the discovery seriously. If you were to treat it seriously, you were all ready to ask a lot of those questions in the beginning, right? Because, not only do you want to prevent the objections that come up later on, you want to prevent them already in discovery so that you don't even need to deal with them later on. But also, more importantly, you're actually working with him and having a conversation with him in a way, more like a consultation. But you're actually seeing if this makes sense, right? So, obviously that's going to be much better than just trying to force him with some tricks and objection handling. So I hope you can see that. So I'm gonna make another video on like how you can do the discovery meeting properly. I'm actually going to link the video above of another video I made on this topic, and then you can check that. I hope this video was useful and that you learned something. I hope you have a nice day. See you later. Cheers.